Alright, Hangouts is live. Thank you guys for joining us today on OreAni 2014 Summer Lineup. Yay! Okay. I'd like to thank Owen Evan for giving us our new cover art. Isn't she cute? With our OreAni ball.
Kawaii desu.
Yeah, so we've got a little OreAni beach ball there. It's pretty cool.
Or would da be better? Kawaii da?
So let me go ahead and introduce everyone. You probably already know everyone here. They've been here quite a few times, but we got Albert.
Hello.
Jessica.
Hi.
Kevin.
How's it going?
Hey, thanks for joining us for the second time.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Nick.
Yep.
He's never gone.
It is kind of convenient that like the Hangouts do like start on like my first day off work, so like
Don't rub it in or nothing.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our first title, which took me a while to learn how to say. I didn't know. Dang it! Stop it! I didn't know Yay!
Yay!
Looks like this one is a title that everyone's watching right now in our group. So let's go ahead and start with the beginning with Albert up the top.
Right. Okay. So Out Noah Zero. It is a mecha. It's listed as a mecha series, and it has a pretty interesting lineup. Meaning the director and the series composer and a few other people all worked on Fate Zero. The series composer is listed with the Urobuchi, Gen Urobuchi, and he, I'm not sure if he's doing individual scripts, individual episode scripts, but wait, is that right? Why am I looking? Sorry. Yeah, he's listed as original creator actually, so I think the series composition is under someone else. So it's got some interesting pedigree. The story is basically that when we landed on the moon, there was an actual alien hypergate that was discovered, and using this technology, humanity moved to Mars. And eventually the Martians founded their own empires and waged a war against Earth. And in, I don't know how many years before, I think it's like 15 years before this, the story takes place, which is in modern times, the moon was destroyed, and that created the hypergate to fail. So Mars was cut off from their supply line was cut, basically. But the Martians have far superior firepower and technology, and they're in a state of ceasefire. So when the story opens, the princess of the Martian Empire has decided to try a peace mission and arrives on Earth, but things go to hell in a handbasket as she is assassinated, presumably. And the Martians that are in orbit above Earth all decide to descend and wage war. So that's kind of the setup. And I watched only the first episode, unfortunately. What I did see was a beautiful animation. The characters are set up to be, there's kind of going to be interesting cultural differences between the Martians, which are, only 30 years apart, so only a generation at most, different than the people that are on Earth. To see how that plays out will be interesting. There's already been, in the first episode, one of the Martian who works under the Mars Empire is actually a human Earthling that got picked up by them. So there's already that mixed cultural conflict going on too, and within the characters. So it's going to be interesting, and I think based on the first episode, I would definitely keep watching it. So that's it for me.
Yeah, I'm just going to pick up and further expand by saying some interesting points about this series is it's really set up from a noblesse point of view. Although the Martians apparently originated from Earth, they don't consider themselves, Earthlings anymore. They're kind of vastly superior, and they enforce this with a very kind of noblesse idealism. The inferior race is to be enslaved. They have the superior tech. And it's just set up from a very noble perspective. Now, not noble as in necessarily what they're doing, but you can see the ranking system established as nobility. You got the guys who are descending on Earth, more or less wearing their fancy clothes in the cockpits, like doing what is they believe is right, or just and the princess though, that Martian princess, she is really wanting peace. She's actually kind of is going back to the grassroots, so to speak. She's going from where they all originated from, and she is actually kind of like in contrast to her people. She truly does actually want peace. She is almost as infatuated with Earth as many otaku are with Japan. It's like the motherland. But I mean, it is an interesting show, and cinematically, it has offered some really good visuals, and the characters are interesting, and I do kind of like the premise it's established.
The thing that struck me most was the wide variety of perspectives, that we have characters that are just ordinary high school students, of course, because it's an anime, but then you've got people in the military on both sides. As Albert mentioned, there's a Terran who's working for the Martians, so you have his perspective. And so you've got a lot of people in the upper echelons of society, too, and they're all treated as though they're main characters. So it's kind of an ensemble cast. Instead of focusing on just one person, focuses on many different people. And that makes for an interesting narrative.
What about you, Kevin?
Honestly, I have a little bit of concern that it's just going to be dry cut. It's going to be a little bit of fighting here and there, but it's mostly going to be drama. As I've mentioned before, I love it. I love fighting. I love killing in anime. It's entertaining to me. So, I could watch like School Days. That was a lot of fun to me. I loved that, but it worries me a little bit. It's going to be pretty dry. I see Nicholas laughing at me. You can laugh all you want.
Dude. No, School Days was something, but yeah, like it's not exactly clear how much action's going to be in this one, but it does seem a little unrelenting as of yet. Like I would personally be a little bit surprised if they just go, we're pretty much going to show like a refugee point of view from now on, and try to avoid war at all costs, or at least animate the war that's going on. Like, I don't think they're going to be like pretty much on the run. I mean, I think it's going to be a solid action series. But we could have another Wizard Barristers here, so.
That's true.
What about you, Sean?
I haven't seen the latest episode. I've only seen 1 and 2. I guess if anything, it makes me very aware of again Urobuchi's tropes, and he's not the writer, but he is the creator. So I don't really know what that means. But he likes a certain sort of like a reverse catharsis, like just fall into a pit of despair type thing, where everything you know and love is just like destroyed right in front of you, and your beliefs are crushed, and the system is a lie, and it has all those things. It's got all that stuff in the first couple episodes to the extent that it's almost comical. Like your introduction to a certain Earthling girl character is that like this giant robot just like comes up and like smashes her parents or her guardians, whoever they were, like right in front of her, and she's just there, just like can't believe what she's seen. But then she runs away and escapes. But it That struck me as like a very typical Urobuchi moment. I don't know. I'm not sold on All Noah Zero yet, but I will watch the third episode.
All
But
right.
as far as I'm concerned, like Psycho-Pass is the real Urobuchi. And All Noah Zero might be fluff, like oh, what was that other one he did? Gargantia.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I mean, the animation is really nice so far. Like the action is superb. It's exciting. Like the time just flies when I watch it.
So it
Yeah, that's what I have to say about it.
seems that this is going to be around 24 episodes. So it's going to be around for quite a bit. So I'm really excited for this show. As I'm actually kind of interested in how much they're going to show around the world on different things, what's going on, because like it did have like part of New Orleans in there and what was going on for a bit. So I was kind of wondering like if they're going to go back around showing you different places as the show goes on and see what's going on.
I don't know. I just have this premonition we're only going to be in Japan and maybe occasionally see, scenes from elsewhere. But talking about it this way kind of also reminded me of like how systematic the enemy operated. Like instead of just like coming down and striking utter chaos, they had this total warpath pre-planned and executed it with such efficiency that the world was just kind of left cut off from each other. And as you mentioned, you really don't know what's going on elsewhere. You just like feel you have this premonition that everywhere is just being universally bad.
All right, let's go ahead and probably move on to the next title we got here, which has been pretty fun. How do you, Barakamon? Go ahead. Kevin, have you watched this?
I have not.
What?
It's on my list, but I just haven't got around to it. I've been pretty busy.
Oh, okay, well, so I'll have Jessica start us off on.
Okay, this one is about a master calligrapher who won a very prestigious award for his calligraphy. And at the award ceremony, an older gentleman basically came out and said that what he had done was crap. And so the calligrapher decks this guy. And to cool himself off, his father sends him out somewhere in the country to just get his act together, I guess. And he's refusing to apologize to this art critic. So you have somebody who's used to being in the city, out in the middle of nowhere, interacting with all of these quirky characters and getting used to the different culture that there is with living in a rural area. It's a very interesting slice of life show about calligraphy, which is something that we don't really see a whole lot of in anime. And I think it's going to be about this artist coming to grips with critics in general, I'm hoping, and also perfecting his art as he's out in nature.
Yeah, this dude was very early called off for being very by the book. The chairman's biggest complaint with him was like he had no personal style. It wasn't necessarily bad. It was just so by the book and uninspiring. And he does move out to the country to try to improve himself so much that he'll just instantly tear that chairperson up. I really like how warm it is. You get a sense of there's going to be like a ton of character development and just like just so much maturing in this series. One of the reasons that I'm watching it has this eccentric little kid character. She's almost like the star of the show. Like she exists almost like alongside the protagonist here. Almost. I mean, it's still about the protagonist, but you could tell she's like the second character right behind him. And watching the interactions of these two is actually what really drew me to the show. It kind of gave me a similar feeling to what was it, OreAni, where I'm almost kind of watching it for the just to watch the development of the younger character as she just kind of goes through and interacts with our main protagonist actually. But I'm very interested to see like what becomes of the two of them and what they will achieve kind of together in their quirky, cat and dog fighting esque everyday life.
So as I was watching the show, that what is her name, Naru?
Naru.
Yeah, I found her kind of annoying, a little bit, but
Yeah.
the way she talked kind of interests me a lot. How she talks with that little accent.
Very
So,
country.
yeah, it was kind of interesting and something new to me as I was watching.
Yeah, so the setting of the series, which is actually based on a manga, but the setting is in the Goto Islands off of the west coast of Kyushu. So it is considered, yeah, it's pretty remote. For most people, it's Nagasaki Prefecture, and this is how they talk over there. So they're trying to, I think, use pretty authentic prefectural language and dialect. So that's very interesting. The title, Barakamon, means in the standard language, standard Japanese, would be Genkimono, which means someone who's healthy and happy-go-lucky. So even the title has a dialect in there. So that's pretty interesting. And all the other characters kind of go between Hyojungo, which is a standard Tokyo dialect, Japanese, and their regional dialect. One other thing I wanted to note is that the Naru is actually played by is voiced by a child actor. So I don't have an age for her, but it is a her, and she is a child actor. And this is only her second anime foray, and in terms of like television drama, she's only been active since 2013. So for that, I think it's pretty interesting. They usually don't use child actors for child voices. They usually get like a female to voice children. So there's a little bit of authenticity, I think, that bleeds through, and I find that interesting.
I think Usagi Drop was the same way, right? Like they got a kid to play a kid.
No, I haven't watched that. So.
Okay. But
Yeah,
Rockemon is like it's really the surprise of the season for me. And there's like nothing that I could say about the story that'll make anyone go watch it, but it is so well made. It's so well made. That animation is just awesome, and it's really surprising for a show that doesn't have like flashy, colorful character designs or like superpowers or mecha. No, there's just slice of life. Everyone's just got plain clothes. They look like plain people, but there's just so much character and charisma in the animation, and all the characters come to life. It is just so good. I'm really astounded by it. I'm not sure exactly where the series is going, like if the series even has a trajectory, because so far everything kind of revolves around the calligrapher. And in episode 3 they introduced another artist. She's like an aspiring manga artist. But so far her backstory was sort of played for laughs, because she's like a closet Fujoshi or something. So I don't know. I don't know if that's just like a little vignette, or if she's going to become a primary character. I don't know. I'm interested in seeing where it goes.
All right, thank you guys. This seems more like a title. The next title we got here seems like a title Evan was talking about. He'd love the Akeme got killed.
Ah, yes.
Akame.
Akame got killed. Sorry, it's backwards on my screen, so sometimes I get messed up. I'm sorry about that. Have you been watching that, Kevin?
I have been.
Well, tell
And
us.
I'll just start with the good, and I'll let you guys deal with the bad, because I don't have too many bad things to say about it, honestly. Obviously my favorite character is the trained assassin. I'm terrible with names. She's real straightforward, and she likes to hide things. The animation, I like the animation. I like how it's fast paced. I like the darker colors. I'm more into all that, and the blood, the massive amounts of blood. I like it. It's one of those shows that I'm hoping it's not like a 12 episode one. 26, I hope.
Well,
Uh,
right now it's actually slotted for 24 episodes right
Oh,
now.
really?
Works for me.
That's kind of surprising. I almost figured it would be 1-4. To kind of expand upon its universe just a little bit, we essentially have this a trio of characters who leave their village to try to make it big in the capital city to support their village. Upon arriving to the capital, however, separated, our main protagonist is forewarned about how highly corrupt the capital city is, and just to exert caution, immediately, like, the things of the capital bear into him, and you just see, like, how much humanity has fallen, just like, kind of in the background. Um, start. He eventually witnesses these groups of assassins. There's wanted posters for them everywhere. It just seems like a crowd you would want to avoid. It's like, who wants to be with assassins? But the assassins are actually targeting the most vile and corrupt members of that capital society, which is why the capital society hates them so much, because they fear for their lives because they're highly corrupt. And this group wants to recruit him after witnessing how, like I guess his sense of justness and justice. And I got to say the action is decent in it. I'm actually kind of surprised by, like, the bland average Joe character design we have on the protagonist here. Like, he just does not strike me as, like, your typical anime character. He's just got, like, it's almost like normal casual, like, street clothing with this, like, weird sword and this hair that just does not seem iconic to many characters, at least for an action series such as this. So I had a little bit of contrast with his character design, but it doesn't necessarily make a negative point of the show. I think it only adds to its uniqueness somewhat.
And the fact that he's a badass helps too.
So what about you, Albert? You got anything negative to say?
Yeah, sure. I don't know, the action for what it is and the animation, it's pretty good. I do agree with that. Although the second episode there were some weird cutscenes, and there's two people fighting, and then immediately one of them loses a hand. I'm like, what? Why did you not animate that part? It made no sense because their swords are, like, locked together. But anyway, the story itself, as interesting as it is, like the corrupt, the totally corrupt empire, rotting from the core on out. I'm not really invested in any of the characters, and there is a lot of comedic elements that are stuck in the story, where characters' faces super deform or they're acting silly, and the tonal shift really kind of bothers me. I wish they just stuck to a more serious tone, and so that's why I'm not. After watching 2 episodes, I'm not convinced I'm gonna watch this through 24 episodes. It is based on a manga series. It is still ongoing with 10 volumes, so I guess there's plenty of material to adapt. I'm just not really sure if the tonal shift is going to keep bothering me or not. And I think I read somewhere that none of the characters are really safe. Like, eventually, on both sides, the Empire side and the Night Raid, their organization will suffer losses. So I assume there'll be losses and new recruits, and that's why the manga keeps going. But I'm not sure how it will play out in the anime. If you get attached to one character too much, you might be in for a surprise. But that's just based on what I read, not that I've read the manga itself. That's it.
Jessica?
There are a couple of scenes, one in the first episode, where the animation stops and there's this highly detailed pencil sketch, and it kind of, I didn't care for it that much. It reminded me of Violinist of Hamelin, to be perfectly honest. And it kind of, it breaks up the emotions that you're supposed to be feeling because they're all done in very emotionally charged scenes. So the one that sticks out in my mind is where the noble girl was talking about how she's killing all of these people because it's her right, and they don't matter because they're just mere commoners. But instead of a nice animated scene to stir up your emotions, all you've got is this sketch to look at. And they tilt it and jiggle it around to trick you into thinking you're watching movement, but you're really not. And I didn't care for that, but I think I will keep going just to see what happens in the next couple of episodes, because I did like all of the violence and gore. That was pretty nice. But yeah, that's all I got.
So, as I think it was Albert mentioned, it came from a manga. And when I first saw this showing up, I was like, I swear I've seen this before. And after a while, I then remembered that manga. So I have seen read a few chapters a long time ago, but I can't remember everything. But they do add some more things into there because like they haven't really answered a lot of questions about like why that girl looks like a cat. And she changes and things like that in the anime yet. So as we go on, you'll learn some more about some things these characters have. So let's go ahead and move on to the next title here. It's what is this? Hanayamata, the Yasukoi show. That's right. Did I say that right?
Yosakoi?
Oh, Yosakoi. Dang it. Yosakoi. So, anyone want to take lead on this?
Oh, sure. The Hana Yamata, right? Hana Yamata. Right. That okay. Never mind. Let's just go with it. So this is one where, as I usually watch anime, I don't necessarily get used to its synopsis at all. I just kind of jump into any episode and or any series and just figure out if I like it or not. Hana Yamada is proving to be interesting, but I it's difficult to kind of pinpoint exactly why. I think it isn't. I'm sorry, just the animation studio behind this one's Madhouse, right? Or no?
Yeah, it's Madhouse.
Yeah, Madhouse. It really does stick to its traditional high color vibrancy anime or colors with interesting character design. A lot of the characters actually kind of have a triangular pieced eye almost, and in the premiering episode, we actually have this really shy, awkward protagonist who goes throughout life knowing how meek she is and just kind of being inspired and wanting to kind of be like everyone who has like a talent that they focused or honed in on. And she comes across this person kind of dancing around the time of this cultural, not festival, or just, I forget what was going on at the time I had, but she's immediately kind of taken in by her dancing, which is referred to as yosakoi. And she really, this blonde-haired, like American immigrant of a character, wants to almost start. He ends up going to the same school and wants to almost form a club to get a group together because from such a young age he was just inspired by this Yosakoi dancing, and immediately attempts to start befriending the main protagonist of the show, which her meekness and shyness kind of really comes to stand out at that point. And this is a series where I'm kind of interested to see where it's going to be going. You really have to be used to the kind of show it is. It's difficult to say why this one might interest people, but you know, I don't know if I'm staticky or not. Should I just let someone else take over?
It's
I don't
not.
know. I, for one, can
bad.
hear you just fine.
Hmm.
I mean, the audio is usually kind of staticky anyway, but, it's always been like that, and it's never been a problem.
I see. I just got to say that I'm watching this one because although there is no action or anything typical in it, I have a little vested interest to see how this story unfolds and how they get a school club established for this, as seen depicted in the anime opening. And it, there's just a charm point to it that I just can't nail. I just can't pinpoint what's charming about the series, but it's just such a lighthearted, almost comedy that it is at least interesting. So.
So, as I was watching this show, I'll have to admit the character design for the eyes kind of annoyed me a little bit. Every once in a while, it looks really nice. It looks beautiful, but then they have this weird angle, and it just kind of kills the animation for me, or how she looks. And even sometimes the shy, when they're blushing, has this hashing in it. That doesn't bug me so much as the eyes, but for some reason it irritates me a little bit. But overall, for the show, I'm actually kind of enjoying it because it's actually teaching me something new. Like, I've never heard of Yosakoi, so just learning something new about it. I mean, I've seen some people post some actual videos online, and I got to watch some actual Yosakoi dancing, which was pretty fun. So as I watch some more of those videos, I kind of want to see how much this show will teach us about it and go through about what this really is and how it got so popular.
In an age where any complex type of movement, where it's fighting or dancing, gets the CGI treatment, it's really, really refreshing to see a show that shies away from that. And the dance scenes that we have seen so far are done in the traditional animation. And that's one of the big draws that the show has for me.
You're not watching this one, Albert?
No, it's on my list of things to check out. I just never got around to it. I think the interesting thing would be that the staff, there's a lot of females, so I think it's going to be very character driven. Like the director is Atsuko Ishizuka. She did what did she do? She did a couple other things. I think she did Sakuraso.
And No Game No Life is the other one.
Yeah, No Game No Life. So she's very competent director. The series composer is Reiko Yoshida, and she's been active since I don't know, Dragon Ball Z. More recently, she's done things like Witchcraft Works, Yowa Free, Majestic Prince, Tamako Market. So she's a veteran. So I think you can, I'm hoping that the script and the characters really bring the story together. And it is based on a manga series that has 5 volumes out and is still ongoing.
So what do you have to say about this, Sean?
I've only seen the first episode, so I don't know how much I want to say, but
Speculate away.
speculate away.
Can I at least ask if you are feeling human
Excuse me?
or happy? Sorry, are you feeling happy about this show?
Oh, yeah, I Zoogle it every day or whatever. Yeah, I've only seen the first episode. I'm really way more interested in the Yosakoi stuff than the typical story of like there's an eccentric club at school, but I don't have the confidence to join. But okay, maybe I'll join. I'll join as like a half member, and I don't know, that stuff seemed really typical to me of like any anime that involves a weird club at school that's doing some weird activity. And I can't wait for them to get past that part and get to the F in Yosakoi. That's what I want. So, but I haven't seen episode 2. It was just because I forgot. I'll check it out at some point. The other thing is, I'm not that fond of the director. I have seen all of Sakura Soul, and even though it was good in a sense, it had like good characters and an interesting story. It was also really stressful to watch. Like it was just constantly loud and shouty, and like everyone was having a panic attack at all times. And I only saw like 4 or 5 episodes of No Game No Life, and that it had a similar sort of loudness, like even though the humor was funny, but it was still constantly loud. It like never cut me a break. The colors were they were loud as well. And then I saw the first episode of Hanayamata, and it had the same sort of feeling. I was just kind of stressed out. It was trying to be cute, but I was stressed. And like the protagonist is always on the verge of a panic attack. She's having this like identity crisis or something over joining this club. I don't know. I don't really like how her anime feels. So I don't know, but I'll watch a few more episodes of Hanayamata, or if I drop it, I'll at least come back for the dancing scenes.
All right, I'll make the prediction he drops it, but interesting thing. Someone posted earlier that the title name actually comes from like the first syllables of the different girls that appear in the show. I guess. I guess we haven't seen them all, so. But someone had made that posting earlier, so I thought that was
Yeah,
kind
like,
of.
I didn't catch that at first, and that was kind of surprising.
I wonder if they're in the order that they join.
Maybe. Okay, let's see here. What's the next title?
Yeah, as we're transitioning to the next title, just on an ending note, I just wanted to express that, while I have a vested interest in this show, what I think I've almost enjoyed the most is like the eccentricness of that blonde-haired transfer student. The way she says Yosakoi, and like she comes across like a traditional Japanese character. She just has like a spasm of this like crazy otaku interest in Japan. And the way she's always jumping around towards people, highly energetic, is just like, to me, a charm point of the series.
All right. So here's our next title, Sword Art Online 2. I couldn't hear enough of this. Everyone talking about it. Let's see here. Go ahead, lead us off, Nick.
So Sword Art Online 2, the premise is essentially established behind a game referred to as Gun Gale Online, which kind of plays like, if I had to pinpoint it to anything, probably like an MMO version of Fallout or something like that. We follow behind Kirito again. He's pretty much going to be the main protagonist of anything Sword Art for a while, and he is met with the an established member of the government who kind of watches over the evolution of the internet, mostly cybercrime. His unit's kind of behind cybercrime, but it's very vested in the way VR technology is affecting, the lives of people now that it's become so available. Um, so this one, Sword Art Online 2, or Gun Gale, as a kind of an alternate name for it, because that's what it's going to premiere behind. Um, is kind of about a murder mystery of sorts. We have a character who shows up, who in this gun first person shooter playing type game has a gun that he refers to as Death Gun, and its alleged ability to shoot bullets through the internet. Now, it doesn't necessarily actually launch a bullet, but the point is, whoever he shoots seems to die in real life. And the government official has approached our main character here, Kirigaya Kazuto, to hopefully get him to dive into this game and help them figure out what's going on. And we have almost a new cast of characters. Although all the old characters from ALO and Sword Art are present, we've met a new sniper by the name of Shinon, who is a new character in all aspects of the Sword Art series. And while Kirito interacts minimalistically with his old cast, it seems that he's going to split his kind of real life, or maybe like whenever he's taking a break from figuring out Gun Gale Online now that he's not stuck in it like the previous two series, essentially. He has like a new co-star, so to speak. So my vested interest in this is to see like Asuna not get like a big role, and I want to see how the fans like react to like minimal Asuna. Like that is my goal of Sword Art right now. But I don't really have anything against her. I just hate how like everybody fangasms over Asuna so much. And it's projected that she's going to play a much smaller role in this, so I'm kind of looking forward to that personally.
I actually have a few people I've talked with that have mentioned that if it's gonna watch one more episode, if Kirito ends up being in it more than anyone else, they're gonna quit watching the whole Sword Art Online. For some reason, a lot of people don't like him, but
They're jealous.
you have anything to add, Jessica?
Just that I wasn't really sure if I was going to pick this one up or not, because the second half of the first Sword Art Online was so disappointing. But since I have OCD and I have to watch the first episode of every series, I thought, what the heck? So I did, and episode 2 really stands out because it has a lot of Sakuga animation in it. There's the green-haired girl, I don't remember her name, that's doing all of these acrobatic snipery type moves that are all fluidly animated, and so I guess I'm in it more for the animation, and the minute that begins to lag, I'll probably drop it because the story doesn't really it retreads familiar ground. We have an online game, people are dying, Kirito is chosen to save everybody from this lethal game. So I don't know, I'm of two minds about this one.
What about you, Albert?
Right. So I think, yeah, Arsenal fans will be disappointed. She does play a minimal role in the story arc from what I've read. The scenes with her that we've seen currently seem very tacked on. And it's kind of slowing the pace of the main story, which is this murder mystery that's going on in Gun Gale Online. So yeah, I'm of two minds. I will probably keep watching, but yeah, everyone hates Kirito because he's the Gary Stu, basically. You know, everyone falls in love with him. He can do everything. Doesn't matter if his stats are wrong in the wrong place. His pure willpower will push him through because he's the chosen one, and everyone's sick of that. But other than that, yeah, Shion has a very, very tragic story that I just watched last night, episode 3. It was pretty horrible, actually. So she's got massive PTSD and trauma going on. And I find her story to be far more interesting. So if they minimize Kirito, and his involvement and focus more on Shion and the actual anime adaptation, I think I'd be more interested to continue to watch. But regardless, the animation is very fluid and beautifully animated, and there's no complaints there. It's just that how much they focus and how much they split time and try to please too much pandering, I guess, to please Asuna fans. I think that's going to be a turnoff. So we'll see what happens. But based on the first 3 episodes, it's got a slow start, but promising.
Yeah, I do actually wonder if they're gonna like splice in more Asuna scenes just to market her a little bit more. So that's kind of like a point I'm gonna be watching this. But of everything from this author, or mostly actually just Sword Art in particular, I do like the amount of depth that comes out of his like sci-fi. VR isn't the first time we're doing a VR game type deal, but it just adds so much almost surrealism that, for instance, this Gun Gale Online it's kind of almost shoddy. Like ever since the seed hit the market, anybody out there could make like a virtual game with it. And although this game is hosted within the United States servers that just serve out to Japan, it's hard for our Japanese police officers to interact with them since they're out of the border. This game also allows for actual money transfer, much like Diablo is set up over here in English, or not English, but just as an actual game. But it's always interesting to see like the technical side of his work, and just to kind of like let it sink in and actually just like think about it, like if things ever get to that, or it just is. That's a point of interest in anything Sword Art for me is watching how he applies any of his technology that is kind of more of a future concept into society and how it affects society, and that's always been a point of interest for me. So.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next title here, which I think it's a continuation from, I think, what was it, Winter or something, which is Space Dandy.
Yes.
That played during the winter, right?
The first season?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. When did it start?
Yeah, unfortunately, I never got into it, so it's one of the first titles we'll be talking about that I haven't watched.
Oh. Well. Yeah, so Space Dandy 2, it's a continuation. And the unique thing about Space Dandy is that, well, there's a couple of things, but one of them is that each episode is directed by someone different, and they bring with them either they do it themselves, or the writing and the animation supervisor and the storyboarding. Everything is different from episode to episode. So you get a not necessarily coherent series. It's much more episodic, and you enjoy each episode as a little animation slice of the different genres of animation. So it's hard to describe exactly what's going on. But if you watched the first season and liked it, I think you'll like the second season. I've watched the first 2 episodes. I really enjoyed the first episode where all these through a quirk of the universe, all these dandies and Mews and QTs end up in the same universe, and things start happening. So that was very amusing. It was interesting to see all the different dandy designs and different animated style dandies for each of them. Episode 2, I really didn't quite get. But I'm looking forward to episode 3, which is also, I guess, in the overall series, episode 16, because Yuasa Masaaki is going to be doing that. So it looks really trippy, and he did all of it, the directing, the writing, the animation, and the storyboarding. So looking forward to next episode. But yeah, Sean might have a little bit more to say about this.
I've got nothing more to say. There's, unless you're talking episode by episode, there's not much to say about Space Dandy. It is a Japanese industry talent show, for sure.
Exactly.
So you really have to talk about every episode on its own terms.
We could do that wrap up, I guess, but
yeah, I've only actually seen one episode. The only thing that I can say about that episode is I've read that all the different dandy crews that appeared in that, those were not designed for that episode. Those were actually different concepts of Space Dandy back when they were conceptualizing the show originally. So those were literally different Space Dandies that could have been this episode. That episode, they like pull on this, I don't know, some sort of cosmic string, and then all these different possible universes collapse, and then all these different kinds of space dandies and meows and QTs are on board the Aloha E or something like that.
Yeah.
Aloha Oe.
Uh-huh. It was wacky as all hell, but
yeah, it's pretty wacky. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing episode 3, the Masaki Yuasa episode, and I'm looking forward to finding out what the episodes after that have in store. As a fan of like anime creators in general, because sometimes they have like veterans, sometimes they have up and coming talent. It's really a cool mix. It was billed as like the return of Shinichiro Watanabe, like in the press, but that's really not what it is. I think what happened. I think what happened is that Watanabe somehow got a whole lot of money from Cartoon Network, and then he proceeded to just give that money to his friends. It's like, here, I convinced them to make this Space Dandy thing, and they're gonna fund it, and who wants to do an episode? So yeah,
it certainly seems that way.
It feels very hands off.
Like showcased back in the day as like from the creator of Cowboy Bebop, and that is truly not what this guy is.
I think the only episode that Watanabe was actually involved in was the episode by
I can't remember one or whatever.
I can't remember her name, but it was the like Plant Planet one, like the trippiest episode of the show. He was the writer for that one.
Yeah, like, that's what's difficult to place about Space Dandy is there's like no true sense of progression as like episodic as it is, but it is actually kind of, I think its charm point that each episode is distinctly much different, from a directorial point of view than the other. It's nothing for consistency, but that's where it truly shines, and like how sporadic of an episode quality we'll get, or what concept is trying to sell. Since you have so many different point of views affecting the series, there's I guess just that much more reason to be watching it. But if it's not to your speed, then it's not to your speed. So.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next show. We got Johnny joining us here. Hello, Johnny. See if his mic is working, but our next title shall be
Here we go. Hey guys.
Maji Moji Rumo. I'm seeing that's a title Johnny's watched. Maybe you can start us off.
Okay. Actually, how about someone else go first, and then I'll just prepare myself. I just opened up the thing, so it'll take a minute.
Yeah. I can start. Wait, am I on? Yeah. So Majimoji Rurumo is another series based on the manga. It's yeah, it's very interesting. Basically, this kid, what was his name? Shibaki is a high school student. Yes, it is high school again, and he's totally into girls, except he's labeled, he had some mishaps, and everybody avoids him as like the plague. And he somehow got coerced into one of the occult clubs. And as a, they do all kinds of wacky things like go for looking for UFOs or finding ghosts, but they find a book on how to summon a witch to make a contract, and it ends up working for whatever reason, and this little witch, Rurumo, appears. Let me see if I have a picture somewhere. And yeah, things happen so that Shibaki gets this stack of coupons, 666 coupons to be exact, that will allow him to use Rumo's magic for his own benefit. But there is a catch, that the familiar, was it Chiro, the cat familiar, tells him that that coupon book actually represents your life. So every time you want something done and use magic, you're powering it by with your life force, basically. And when all of it's used up, well, you get to go to hell. So it's actually really cute because, in one of those situations, you figure this guy is, despite being labeled, as a hentai and all that, he's probably too good for his own good. And that is exactly kind of what happens. He ends up, like, the first time he uses the ticket is actually to kind of prevent his other club members from being a peeping Tom on Rurumo, And so he's got that good nature in him, and he uses the tickets, his life, for her. And I think that's going to be like a repeating theme. So it's his struggle trying to balance, his desire with what's actually his good nature. So it's a cute anime. It's got some funny gags, and so far it's very lighthearted. If you're sick of the blood and gore, take a look at this gag comedy. Anyone else?
So I decided to pick this up as well. It's pretty fun. It's the animation is kind of rough, but it helps with the comedy. And it's oh, you got a little picture of her?
Yep.
Yay. But I kind of feel sorry for the main guy. Seems like all these things just keep on happening, but in the worst way for him. And but it's hilarious. And it's something nice to watch just in your spare time. You don't have to take it too serious. You just pop it in and play it. So I'll probably continue watching it. And but for some reason it's not a show I can really recommend to anyone right now. But
perhaps that's why I didn't like it, is I took it too seriously. Because at one point in the story, he wishes for panties. And so she gives him her panties, and of course she doesn't have any backups. And so he spends a good chunk of the episode taking her to all of these places to try and get a glimpse of her lady parts. And that's not for me, I'm sorry. Because she looks like she's 8 years old, too. I mean, it'd be another thing if she was a little more curvaceous, but she's as flat as a board and looks like a kid. So it just gave me this uncomfortable feeling. So I'm dropping this one. It just
I don't know.
Character designs are ugly too. So
in the series, she like claimed she was 80 plus. So I mean,
right. But
No, I
But she's
understand.
drawn as a lolly. Come on.
I know. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying from a legal standpoint, she's more than okay. But anyway, yeah, this is a tough series to kind of necessarily just recommend as well. What my draw to this is, she at some point, as per the plot, she has claimed that she's been demoted down to like a witch in training, which explains like the witch coupon book as mentioned earlier. And later the main character's informed of like at first he's like there's some catch to using this, right? And they're all like no no no. And then the cat deity does get with him later, not cat deity, cat familiar, and informs them of that whole like lifespan link thing. And from an objective point of view, I'm actually just watching this like with plot progression. I'm hoping that cat was just like trolling this main character, and that's like not the case. Because I'm like,
No,
it'd be kind of. No, I'm just saying, like, from my perspective, as I was hoping that would be
Yeah.
the case, but just
No, in
because
fact, there's
it's like
the bigger
we have this
secret.
witch in training here, and apparently we have to like I don't know, kill a person off to make them an instated actual witch, and that was just one of the concepts of. I was like just kind of hoping that cat thing was like trolling so hard. So I was kind of like watching. Hopefully to the end point of the progression to be all like, yeah, I just told you that lie at the beginning. Oh well, but that's just my little 2 cents on it. Even if it's not the case, it's what I ultimately hope for.
John, are you set up?
Yeah. I like most series or like most shows this season. I picked this one up on a whim. I saw people posting about it saying it's pretty funny. So it is pretty easy pickup because I get into it, no background knowledge of it. There's not really much needed to know about it. But yeah, it's just fun to watch. It's light, and I'll probably continue watching it because the gags are really funny. I just think it's hilarious, especially how her character is just doesn't care about things. Like doesn't seem like she cares about things, and it's just funny. I think it's a good show.
You actually just reminded me of something. I accidentally stumbled upon this show because I was trying to look for that Momo anime that's also airing.
Momo Cute and Sword?
Yeah, and I wasn't really paying attention, and I saw the M, and I thought I was it. And as I started watching, I'm like, this is nothing like what I was told about. So that's how I stumbled upon this, but yeah. So shall we move on, or anyone else have anything else to add?
No, let's go.
Yeah, let's go to the lollies. Fate, Collide, Liner, Prisma, Idia, Two, whatever.
Not that I necessarily want to take this one away or anything, but just as a statement, when I watched the first season of this, I did read a little bit of the manga back in the day, and although the plot doesn't necessarily need to be re-explained for this one, because we did cover it in a previous hangout, but we will recover it again. I said that it actually had a lot of contrast to the manga. Like I think there was a little bit. They re-storyboarded it to some extent, but due to the lack of one element, I claimed that it was another work. And this second season is premiering around that lack of element that I've noticed. So like this whole season is what's going to make this show like just actually promote the manga, in my opinion. And actually, it's like, oh, they did include that. My bad. But so we actually have Silverlink is doing this one. Yes, I do believe.
Yes.
Silverlink. So not to be necessarily confused with Type Moon, who has done a lot of the Fate previous works. Lots of good animation coming out of this one. We had a synopsis already in the first episode for anyone who might not have catched the first season, so they do give you a light synopsis just by checking out the first episode. And it is one of the more, albeit a little lolly-driven, most interesting takes on we have to collect the shards type of anime. In this sense, it's the cards that have a reoccurring theme throughout most Fate works. Um, can be added in to the Magic Girl transformation sequence, basically augmenting their abilities with the traits of the cards that they have to fight the corrupt spirits of to reclaim. Um, these cards are warping reality, and the Magic organization essentially wants them reclaimed and to have them stop warping reality. And that's why we follow the two characters that we do. This series seems to premiere around the concept that during the interactions of these characters, an incident occurs where a negative version of the character pops off the main protagonist, Ilya, as she's called. And this whole season seems to be an objective as to why that happened and the interactions of itself. Like, we get to see how the two are going to be interacting for a while. At first, there's almost an intense amount of hatred with no explanation that can only be later revealed and applied as the episodes continue to come out. So the main point of this one is we had like a negative version of our character Ilias kind of split off, and that's what we're going to be watching for the rest of the season with great visuals and some good amounts of comedy and a lot of lolly-driven artwork. Almost to like a disconcerting extent, but it is definitely unique and highly enjoyable regardless.
Albert was just sharing their transformation scene.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely gorgeously animated, and Silverlink is doing another show this season, which we'll talk about later. But it seems like they put most of their money over here because it is very popular, as far as I know, in both manga and various goods, associated goods, figures, pencil boxes, or bento boxes, whatever. So it's very popular and probably very profitable for them to put that effort into this. So yeah, the story is a little bit interesting. It's a transformation, and more will be revealed throughout. I kind of know where this is going, but there's the two that you see. They are naming, Ilya is on the left, and then Black Ilya, or Kuro, is on the right, and she's dressed as actually a modified form of the Archer uniform from Fate Stay Night, and from the series also. So I think it is completely. If you're gonna watch it, just be aware that it is completely full of fan service, left and right, and lolly fan service at that. If that makes you uncomfortable, you should just stay away from it, because you're just gonna get a ton of it, as far as I can tell. Episode 2 just went over the top right from the get-go. There's explanations for things that happen, like all the kissing and things, but you're watching it going, I'm not really comfortable with this. So,
was there as much fan service in the first series? Because I don't remember there being that much of an emphasis on it.
On the sexuality portion?
Yeah.
But it was there. Like
It
one
was
of my
there.
favorite scenes from like the first season is the switch that would randomly flip in our main protagonist.
Yeah. There were like number of bathing scenes, always very well placed rubber duckies, and actually I think there were lion shampoo heads that blocked certain views. There was that whole sequence where Ilya was not feeling well, and then Miyu comes over and she's dressed up in her maid uniform, and Ilya kind of loses it, which is also hilarious. But yeah, I think this season you might be seeing more of that. And since they look, the split Ilyas look alike, there's that twincest thing going on, and whatever. It's just full of fan service. Just be aware of that. But it is a very funny show, and the comedy is gold.
Yeah, back to that kiss scene you're talking about. I was actually surprised it went that long.
Mhm.
I was like, because I saw a lot of the gifs and everything, and I've actually been kind of disappointed about how many spoilers are coming off from this show. But I
Yeah.
guess because of the fan service, everyone wants to share it. So when I actually saw that scene, I was like, wow, this is a lot longer than I would have expected.
Yeah, I mean, to a point, I agree, but that's just what it's going for. It's just kind of funny. Found it funny, or like about that scene. I'm like, oh god. But it is very immaculately animated. So much so to where those clips are just rolling off because it is so much like this is like just a lot of the art the cuts of animation have been highly touched up, and I always did notice the contrast of like the effects popping off the background, and that's definitely still a thing with it, even if they improve their craft somewhat, I think, and the effects are so much more notable than they were in the first season so far. I mean, I don't know where this one's going yet, but
So you have anything to add, Jessica?
Not really, except that it probably is the best animated show of the season as far as the quality of the animation. It's beautiful to look at. Ilya's red ruby-colored eyes are rapturous. So I'm kind of sticking around for that, but if it gets too more fan servicey, I might end up dropping it because these girls really are 10, right? They're 10 years old or something. And
yeah, they're not 80-year-old witches.
no, they're not 80-year-old girls that look 10. They're actually 10.
They're in 5th grade, I believe.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic.
I'm not watching the series, but I will say that like when everyone started posting those animated gifs of the two lolies making out, I've more than one person on my stream has been like, okay, I'm picking it up like right now, or okay, I've just marathoned the first season, I'm ready to watch the second one.
And the crowd wants more. That's all I can say.
So for now I'm just gonna assume that's the essential. That's the essence of Prison Ilya. That, and if you're really into like Type Moon references and service, then.
Alright, let's go to a title that I guess I know Sean is really enjoying right now. The Terror in Tokyo, I guess it's translated as. It's a Zankyo no Terror.
Oh, isn't that terror
Man.
resonance?
This thing has a lot of names. But yeah, it's Zankyo no Terror is the actual name. The official English title in Japan, is Terror in Tokyo. I think the official English title in English-speaking nations is Terror in Resonance, which I think is a more accurate translation because there's no Tokyo in Zankyo no Terror. But I guess you could call it a police procedural or detective fiction or something. It's about so some years ago, some kids broke into some facility and stole plutonium. That's the opening scene. And then
Yeah, that's only 6 months ago.
okay. Yeah, I wasn't too clear on that timeline. And now the kids are back. They're in Tokyo, and in the first episode, they collapse a building. And we don't really know much about these kids. It's as if they have escaped from a lab or something, and they refer to each other in numbers. Like one is referred to as 9, and the other one is 12. And I read in the synopsis like there's going to be a kid named 5 that's going to try and hunt them down. But yeah, we don't really know much about who they are or why they're doing what they're doing. It also shows the police half of the story, with them trying to track down these kids. I don't know how much I want to get into the synopsis because so much of it isn't clear. By episode 2, they bomb a police station, and then it becomes more of a, the bad guys are challenging the police. And I don't know, I feel like I've seen this sort of setup before. And it's unique to see this sort of story in anime, but outside of anime, I don't think it's that unique.
Oh.
Even though this show just it just oozes with style. It's just so stylish and so visually and musically well executed. It's just so cool aesthetically. But I hope that eventually it starts focusing on the characters and why they're doing what they're doing, and I hope it starts focusing on what this show is trying to thematically express through this story of detectives and terrorists. I hope it doesn't get too sidetracked into just the pure mechanics of the cat and mouse game, because episode 2 was almost exclusively about that, and we still don't know much about these characters. But so far, I think it's pretty interesting. I really want to know where it goes. So Shinichiro Watanabe, Space Dandy was not the return of Watanabe, but Sankyo no Terror obviously is. This is a show that he's actually working on. And he's joined by Kazuto Nakazawa, who does the character design, and he's the chief animation supervisor. So the last time they worked together was on Samurai Champloo, and Nakazawa there did the character designs, and he animated half the battles in Champloo, and that made it such a cool show. But unlike Champloo and Sankyo no Terror, it doesn't have any comedic edge to it. It's all pretty dark and dire stuff. That's all that I have to say about it for now.
What's really interesting about these terrorists is that they haven't actually killed anybody in their explosions. You look at the building that came down, the first one that they dropped, and it's enormous. It reminded me of the Twin Towers, actually, because it had 2 separate towers. But then you see in episode 2, there's a newscast saying, "Miracle, only 27 people injured, no fatalities." And then when they blew up the police station in Roppongi, they put a camera in there and deliberately led the police away so that they wouldn't be in the building when it went off. So you have to wonder what their motivations are. They're creating widespread destruction, but they haven't actually killed anybody yet.
That's been kind of my vested interest in this show, is how competent these 2 protagonists are, coupled with their unique personalities. The female character there is the one kind of noting their personalities as we go along. How cold one is, how warm the other is. But this show, although it's called Terror in Resonance, I actually want to know more about that resonance. It seems like it plays a much, much bigger role, and that's ultimately what I really want to watch this one for. But the expressions of the characters and just escaped from a lab or not, it's very hard to tell. I am interested in their antics, although it's just an animated fiction, it really does have a sense of this weight that, I just want to see them, do more. It's outsmart the typical citizens who think that they've got this grip on society to try to keep it in check, and these guys are just dancing around that line so immaculately that I'm just hooked to watch more.
So one thing I did want to add is that the composer's Yoko Kanno, and she's pretty popular. I've loved a lot of her music and soundtrack for a lot of the other shows, so I'm kind of excited about that too.
Yeah, Yoko Kanno has her ups and downs, but I think the music in Zankyo no Terror is especially good. It has to be one of her better soundtracks.
So we got Albert sharing some screenshots.
Just a single shot, but wanted to mention that the animation studio is MAPPA, which was it was founded in 2011 by someone from Madhouse who retired from Madhouse, Maruyama, and it looks like they've done a lot of co-productions, but they did Kids on the Slope, Space Brothers, Amnesia, oh god, Hajime no Ippo Rising, Space Dandy with Bones, and then this one, Zankyo no Terroru. So interesting in that sense because they, you think a small studio, but it looks big budget. I mean, it's gorgeously animated, and yeah, the soundtrack is fantastic. One thing to note, what do they call it? They call it a catchphrase, catch copy in Japanese. It's more like a tagline or a, advertising note. But it says the catch copy is この世界に引き金を引け, which means pull the trigger on this world. So it's got this very revolutionary kind of theme going with 9 and 12 and figuring out if they really, were in some sort of facility, lab grown, and it seems like many of them didn't make it out or survive. So perhaps it's their challenge to reveal, that the current world that most people experience is built on something far uglier. So I'm more interested in their background and their story and how they interact with this very normal, in fact, not normal, very subdued other student, Lisa, that they just happen to come across and give her a choice of, you can die or become our accomplice. So I think it's got, as long as they don't cop out, I think that it has very high potential to be a really good show. But it's still early on in the season, but definitely based on the first 2 episodes, I would watch it. And I think it's only a 1 course. I'm really curious to see where it goes. Whoa.
Sorry,
So that's it for me.
There are shows that I put on the back burner, like, the new episode comes out, and I'm like, I'll watch it sometime this week. Zankyo no Terror is like, I have to know what happens in this episode. I watch it the second I get home.
Absolutely.
On Thursday or whatever.
Also, based on your posting, was it an Anime Talk, or did you post it to your stream about the black? Actually,
yeah, that was on my public stream. Just
okay. Yeah, so based on that, I actually went and downloaded the raw version, and yeah, I can see what you mean. There's a chunk of things missing, or you can't really make out, and because a lot of the scenes take place in the shadowy part, if you don't have a good grip, then you are missing out on the details. So I hope they fix it, but I will be watching the raws because I don't need the subtitles.
yeah, there's a trade-off there. Like, do I want to watch it the second it comes out? Watch the Funimation version that has bad colors and therefore a lot of dark scenes just get turned black and you can't see anything.
Yeah.
It definitely has that problem. Or should I wait a day for a fan sub version based on a TV raw where I can actually see stuff?
So, what was I going to say? I'm actually very interested in what's going to happen with that girl. They keep on putting her in there every once in a while, but she hasn't really done anything. And then the whole issue with, I think it's with her mother, they're starting to show. I'm wondering what's going on with that.
Yeah, she does have an an interesting background, but I also got to think that a little more backstory there is that she bears a striking resemblance to one of those potential lab situations that they escaped from early off. She's highly reminiscent of this one character who, I guess, was not supposed to make it. I don't think she's that character. You know, I think the actual one didn't make it, but we almost have like an interaction crisis with the two main characters and how they treat her, having that, just that striking resemblance to what happened years and years ago when they couldn't do a thing. You know, despite being able to trip society so much now, back then they couldn't do a thing. So.
Anybody think that, Jessica?
No, nothing.
So I just took a quick look, and it seems like this is going to be a short series with 11 episodes. But let's go ahead and move on to the next title we got here. Another survival game club. Go. What is it? How's that? Sabaged?
Yeah, Sabage.
Sabagebu?
Well, with the W.
So, the funny thing I thought about this show is it starts off, the main character jumps right on scene and tells you, yeah, this show's not really going to be about survival games.
And then you got the president of the club chiming in, no, shut up, yes it is.
So I thought that was hilarious. I actually watched this with a few people I know around here, and they ate this up. They love it. They keep on when's the next episode? When's the next episode? I don't get why this is so popular amongst them, but the comedy's great. You want to start, Jessica?
Sure. I really like this one too, and I'm hard pressed as to explain why. Maybe it's because Momoko, I think is the pink-haired girl, is not your typical heroine that gets dragged into a club she doesn't want to join. She's a little bit of a sadist, which works out well because one of the other characters is just a little bit of a masochist, and so you have these really crazy back and forth scenes where she's beating on other people, and she really gets into it. And the other thing that this one does differently from Stella Jo Gakuen is that it actually shows the girls getting hit and bleeding, and it'll always say, you know, gentle viewer, worry not, this is just the girls' imagination, they're not actually dying. And they break the fourth wall a lot with having conversations with the narrator, and it's just a really zany, kooky show, but in a fun way.
Yeah. I was actually going to bring up this resemblance to the Stella as well. I was actually trying to think of its name. I was like, no, it wasn't like CCC or something like that, but because that was the club name in Stella. But anyway, while it's highly reminiscent of that, it does stand off as, like, while they're supposedly doing their airsoft combat, they visualize it as actual bullets. And it's actually kind of funny. One of the notable points about it is they treat drawing the weapons almost like a transformation scene. It's like whenever it's time to pull out the guns, we go to these tales like, you know, preordained weapon pulls that just remind me of like a transformation sequence. I mean, it's not quite, but it's just interesting to see it thought of that way. You know, before we start like our super imagination, yada yada. One of the interesting points to me is, you know, although the character interaction is pretty nice, I like the comedy there, I also like the amount of surrealism that comes out of this series. It was highly prominent in the first episode, and I'm hoping I get a lot more of that. It wasn't as present in the second, but we are always met with these backgrounds that are almost highly unfeasible in some way. They go to this weapon shop, which was like something out of an Amazon jungle, and just watching that theoretical shop drew interest from me. In the second episode, they go under their club room. They have this like almost like fireman escape thing, and they go down there, and even like the narrator noted, like, how does this exist under the club room? Don't ask. but just these highly elaborate, almost unrealistic backgrounds is kind of drawing a point of interest to me, but I can't say that it makes this necessarily good or not. It's just I get a kick out of it. So the character interactions and the crazy amount of imagination that I guess went into this would be kind of my vested interest.
There's a scene in the second episode where it's sort of an homage to The Matrix. I think it's the second Matrix movie where they go in, and I'd really like to see that alongside footage from the second Matrix film just to see how closely those two scenes resemble one another. But that was pretty funny, too. So I kind of wonder if they are going to have any other action movie references in this show as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, them breaking that this total nonsense and crazy. I mean, even at the end of the first episode, I believe, the narrator even goes in and is like, yeah, that's pretty much how the rest of this series is going to be, so if you didn't like it, there's really no need to continue on.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious, and like I said, a lot of my friends are really enjoying this, so I think this might be a show for Kevin, if he hasn't watching. Let me check. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's watching, so Kevin, pick this up. I think you'd enjoy it a lot. So let's see, shall we move on to the next title, or does anyone else have anything to say about Sabage? Alright, let's go ahead and move on to, I believe it's called Glass Slip. Glass Slip by PA Works. Woohoo! I just barely got to episode 2. I think there's 3 episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Albert, you want to start us off?
Sure. Glass Slip is PA Works' original anime, so that was one of the things that people are attracted to. It's original work, and well, with PA Works, the animation is going to be very, very pretty, which it is. It's based on it's the city that it's based on is in Fukui Prefecture. They actually have a specific town that they model this after, and it revolves around 6, as you would, high school students. So it's all about youth and friendship and love and all that good stuff. So, and so far I've watched the first 2 episodes, and it's a little bit lackluster. I mean, it's still beautiful. The animation is great, but none of the characters really have grabbed me. The relationship seems, boy A likes girl A, but she doesn't know it, and girl B actually likes boy A, and the whole, relationship web that they're going through. So the five high school students who've been friends forever, and they all hang out at one of the kids. His family runs a cafe, so they all hang out there. And in this mix comes a transfer student who seems to know a lot more than he is letting on, especially about the I guess one of the main characters, Toko. Whose family runs a glass factory, and they make different kinds of glass objects, figures and artworks, things for necklaces. I think there's even fooding, which is a wind chime. Yeah. And so she seems to have, I don't want to give too much away, but she seems to kind of fall into almost to a she sees or hears things slightly different when something is very, very shiny, which glass is one of those things. And so she's not exactly sure what this is, but the mysterious transfer student who's what was his name? I can't remember. Anyway, the transfer student seems to know a lot more about this and says, "Hey, I hear what you see," or something like that. And so there's a little bit of this otherworldly mystery going on between the characters, but then there's also the typical, this is, a summer break in high school with all these kids having feelings for each other going on too. So it seems a little bit split. I'm not really sure where the story is going, but this PA works and I will be watching it.
That's a comment I had too. Like this, even though it's original, it does feel like it's been something adapted from the manga to me for some reason. It just feels like those series that have been adapted. Although it's told in a way that makes it almost out to be a pure drama, it's that element of that psychic existence that's drawing me to kind of watch more. That mystery there usually compels me to figure out more about it. And I think when the characters are apart, they see visions or hear a voice, but when they are together in tandem, it becomes a little more potent. Is what I think is going on. Hard to say, but again, it is almost highly reminiscent of something like Anohana. One of the characters actually strikingly resembles one of the characters from Anohana, but that in-group relationship is like so highly present right now that's what it just kind of feels like to me. It's like that almost that Anohana vibe, but with the glass manufacturing and the psychic premise establishes it as something highly different. But I'm watching it to see where it goes, but I'm not quite sure if it's going to be, I don't know what the big kick's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be so good in the end.
I also felt a little disappointed with this one. I was anticipating this series a lot because I thought, ooh, an anime about glass blowing, that's cool. We'll get to learn about glass blowing. And so far, all it's really done is show Toko, twirling the little glass orb, but it doesn't say anything about that or talk about that at all. And I feel like this was a bait and switch in the story department, is that we're going to name the show Glass Slip, so there's in the title something about glass, and we're going to, kind of show you little bits and pieces of it, but it's really about relationships and how everybody's, like Albert was saying, there's this love polygon going on with this group, and the new transfer students shaking that up a little bit. And then they talk about her powers, so suddenly this is a slice of life show turned into a like a supernatural power show. I just don't really know what it's trying to do, and I might take a couple of more episodes to figure out, but if it doesn't settle down, I'm probably going to drop this one, which is unfortunate because it's beautiful.
About this title, I like a lot of the PA Works stuff, but for some reason this show just isn't grabbing my attention too much. I mean, episode 3 came out, I was like, what? When did 2 come out? So it's not like it's like in the back of my mind, and
it's like, oh, episode 3 came out, better watch episode 2 soon.
Yeah, I better. I mean, I just barely watched it before this hangout. I didn't get to go to 3, unfortunately, but for the story is just not drawing me in right now, and hopefully, if people post about it, I'll remember to watch it. But it's just not catching me right now.
This seems to be a pretty common complaint that it's not really grabbing, but we'll have to see. I mean, PA Works, they have a good pedigree, but it's really hard to say with this one. They did Nagiyasu, right? Nagi no Asukara, and that one also ended up kind of disappointing for me. So it really, the animation was great, but it really depends on who's writing the story. And Glass Slip is written by, who's the writer? Well, they've got a couple multiple people on there, so I don't know. I just can't figure it out. But compared to like Anohana, I just want to say that the characters there's a superficial resemblance on one character, but the characters are not like Anohana. They are not miserable people who.
Yet.
Yeah. It's not, just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I just meant more like that love polygon establishment, and the one character design is all I was like necessarily likening it to, like the presence of something kind of supernatural. But yeah, I really hope it picks up and becomes something. Like I said, they've always been more of a dramatical kind of group, at least from the recent concept of Nagi, which at least introduced some highly interesting form of society and just an interaction between the two. I'm not quite sure what's going to be present in this one, but I'm just kind of hoping that there's something there that'll just compel the series to be a little bit better than what it is right now. It's not as necessarily terrible, but if it gives a kicker of some sort, I think it could be pretty good.
Right. So let's go ahead and move on to the title. Rail Wars. Dun dun dun. Where the trains battle each other.
Not sure.
No.
I don't think that's quite how it works.
Let me see here. Who's seen this? Nick and Jessica. You want to start us off on this great show?
I'm
Go ahead, Nick.
a little hesitant to do this one, man. Okay, so Rail Wars. Wow. Such a ball of confusion. I don't know what to say about it. It's premised where, like, the railroad industry is so much bigger than it is nowadays. Like, it's almost like a modern day programmer. The rail industry is just like so successfully flourished that you're promised a solid job with like a good payout if you could get in. Like they have like schools set up to select who can get in to work to this rail industry, and we are set amongst what seems to be one main protagonist, but at least three other co-characters as they went through their school and basically got hired for this big immaculate rail industry. While they do showcase trains somewhat, I don't think it's as informational as it could be. It's almost, they don't exactly steal the show or anything, but it's just so hard to recommend this show necessarily because it is so obscure. We follow these characters and not quite as it's not slice of life, I can't say, because not many people's livelihoods are set up in this nature, but there's no super significance in what necessarily happens in it at the same time. There's just not like a whole lot of noticeable charm points that I can talk about at this time. I'm just kind of watching this as more of a mediocre show that might tell me more about trains. I don't know. It's hard to recommend to watch this show, in my opinion. So our protagonist characters got hired in the rail industry, and we are following their progression in it right now. Is all I can honestly say. Its storyboarding is a little bit everywhere at the moment, and I kind of need to see more to try to more elaborately talk about this show, but it's rather difficult to kind of pin it down anything in particular from my perspective.
So
The title. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to me, this show's kind of like how Sean treats others. That it's so bad, I just want to see how bad it can be. I mean, just some of the scenes, just some of the background stuff that goes on, are just so terribly animated that I'm like, I swear I'm just gonna watch this to see what little mistakes I can find and catch. Like here's a little screenshot I took here. Look at those people. They just they don't really stand out. They don't really look all that great to me. And I admit maybe it's just a passing scene, so it wasn't really that important. But when I look at this scene here, he's got his arm on something, but there's nothing there.
Oh, weird.
So it's like, was there supposed to be his bag there? Because the girl's got the bag on her arm right there. So there's just some moments where it's like, what's going on? And even there was a scene where they were talking. His mouth was moving, but it was the female's voice going on. So this is some of the moments are pretty cool. Some of them look nice, but I'm just watching this to see what kind of mistakes I can find right now.
For a show that has the word wars in the title, it's really, really boring. In episode 2, there's a bomb scare, and there's just absolutely no dramatic tension. You know that these kids are going to clear it up by the time the episode wraps. But what really made me drop the show is that the redheaded character, the girl, knows what to do with the bomb, and as unbelievable as it seems, she actually disarms it and saves the day. And then in the very next scene, the main male character is the one that gets the promotion. And what kind of a crazy world is it where the guy is just there and gets the promotion because he was there during the bomb scene, but the person that did all of the hard work doesn't even get a pat on the back for it? Thought, oh, this is just really stupid.
Like real-life bureaucracy.
Well, I mean, not that I want to comment too much about it, but I think it's just that they like his objective personality a lot. She is very much so a loose cannon. In one of the scenes, like they say, we have like a perpetrator on the rail network. He's like, you know, harassing the women. What should we do? And her honest answer was, shoot the mother effer. So she's kind of a loose cannon, and I think what they noticed in him is he's really good at coming up with a plan to utilize everyone's talent. She did do an overbearing amount of work for that bomb disarmament, but if she was the true leader, her you know, I get a progressive outlook on things might not effectively utilize the team. Like I think he just kind of brings a whole lot more mellowing out and like, you know, more of a common sense kind of a factor to their teamwork. So he has made some pretty good calls in the show. One of the scenes they had to get a train running, a steam train. They were shoveling coal essentially to this boiler train because in order to pass train school, you have to get this train running so fast. If you don't, you don't make the cut. And it's set up in like this warehouse where like you know there's atmosphere, it's snowing, it's totally nonsensical, but you know it's Rail Wars, so there's.
I watched the OP and ED. Those are pretty fun. I actually really like the ED.
I mean, it's an interesting team, but it's like I said, it's so hard just to sit there and say, yeah, check out this show. It's great.
Do watch the OP and ED. They're great.
Yeah.
I've only seen like 30 seconds of Rail Wars, but I want to ask, like, is there a lot of like train otakuism in it?
Not
very,
really, no.
Very minimalistically. Like,
Okay.
They do talk about a few trains, and I don't know if what they provide is actual factual information, but they did comment about how trains like get their name, and if you hear the model of a train, here's how to identify potentially what type and like how many wheels you can expect on each amount of train car. But the amount of train info they present is very minimalistic thus far. Like it's there, but it's not like the main point of the show. So.
That would be the only thing that would make me pick the show up. Would be like the train, all the information about the trains and stuff. The thing that took me away from it was all the fan servicey kind of thing. I saw the trailer for it and I was like, oh, okay, this is the same, just with this of something, and then they just have this harm show or whatever. I don't know. It just didn't catch my appeal.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about it because I'm sure everyone's seen this artist before, being a 600. He does the artwork for the Rail Wars books. And, I always thought, like, if they made an anime that was just like this, I would probably watch that. And they
have yet
did,
to.
and the production values just seemed really low. So, I was like, nope. And then I skipped around a little more, and
You were
there was
like,
like a scene with a busty girl like running on a track or running around a track, and then she was like, oh no, my floppy boobs are so floppy, and I was like double nope, and I stopped watching Real Wars. And by the sound of it, sounds like it's not worth giving another shot.
Nope.
So I thought that maybe like if it was really, really nerdy train otaku, maybe that would be some redeeming factor.
there's like been a scene or two, but it's hard to say. Like if they showcase more information, I'll let you know. But at this time, I just think like they made a show around these characters. That's their selling point.
Yeah.
Hopefully later on tonight I'll look it up. But there was an anime show that was all about these. I guess you would call them train otakus, and they would the whole episodes.
See you later, Jessica.
Yeah, the whole episodes were just about them riding the train to different stations, and it shows you like what was so special about these stations, and it gives you more information about than Rail Wars. It was actually kind of interesting. I'll have to look it up and post about it later on. But this one, yeah, like I said, I'm just watching it to see what I can find is wrong.
Yeah.
So, shall we move on to the next title, I guess, or probably going to be our last title at the time right now?
Let's spend another hour talking about this one. It's so great.
So let's see here. The last title, Local Doll.
Nope, I'm watching it.
You're watching it.
So Loco Doll's premiering episode, for whatever reason, like just grabbed my attention and made me think like it was gonna be something kind of great. With a concept kind of similar to the startup of Wake Up Girls, without so much as like the dancey, trendy idolism behind it. Just as far as what they do locally, since they are local idols. We follow the main character, who is the niece, I think, of a member of a government member of the city, and he's come up with a plan to try to bring more tourism in because their city really offers not much in comparison to, the big otaku-driven cities or big cultural cities. Like there's not much for the youth to do in this town, so he's trying to use the funds as best as he can to minimalistically improve the town and draw interest to it. And like I said, I love the progression of the premiering episode, but upon checking out a little bit more, it didn't follow that same pace. Not that I expected it to, but it's still an interesting show, and I'm probably going to watch it all the way through. So as these budding local idols, as they're called, or local, these two characters subtly do work around the city, giving brief news segments about services that the city offers, or recent improvements, or interesting restaurants that also appear in the city. And there's a lot more to be seen about this one before I can say any charm points about it. But I just like the interaction of our main protagonist and how she kind of goes through life being super embarrassed about, she almost has a sense of stage fright. So now that she's kind of forced by her uncle to be a member of this group, sorry, I lost my composure there for a second.
Nick, you said news segments, right?
I know, I did. I said
okay.
News segment.
Because for some reason I heard it as like nude segments. I'm like, that can't be right.
Well, that would make the
Maybe
show
it
much
could
more
be.
interesting, but no. Anyway. So we really watch the point of view of our main protagonist, who's super embarrassed about just being aired on TV and he has this strong sense of stage fright, yet is almost kind of forced to be in front of the camera and be aired across TV, although she doesn't kind of want to be. She was kind of strong-armed into it by her uncle, and she necessarily hasn't tried to quit. She is using this experience to kind of develop herself. Even though she is uncomfortable with it, it hasn't been an overall negative experience for her, and she is trying to grow from it too, and to become a better person, so to speak. Much like her leading senpai idol, who is the other pair. I'm a little bad with names at this point. I didn't necessarily prepare my bad.
So I found this show actually kind of fun. At first, I was just watching it as a filler because I had nothing to do on Thursdays, and so as it came out, I would watch it on my phone on Crunchyroll at work, and now I found myself going, "Oh, it's Thursday! I gotta watch this." So my opinion on it has changed a lot. It's been very fun for me. Um, uh, how do, how do I want to say this? It's pretty. It's like as I'm watching, it's kind of funny because it seems like the main character is almost building this little female harem, even though it doesn't look like that's her target. But it's just kind of funny how it's going on. But there's not much to say about this show. It's not really recommendable right now, but it's just something I'm just watching on my free time that's been pretty enjoyable. So let's see here. I think that's pretty much it for today. We'll cover the other titles next week as we still have a whole lot of other titles here left over. We haven't even gone into any of the shorts. Is there any titles you guys want to just mention a name that people should watch for next?
I don't know if you guys are talking about it because it's like sort of a reboot, but are you not talking about Sailor Moon this season?
Well, when I looked it up, it said it was an OVA type of thing. So
Yeah, Sailor Moon's coming out on the weird every other week schedule.
Yeah.
So there's only been 2 episodes out, and
I have yet to watch the second one.
yeah, I mean we could cover it next week. I'm not sure if the 3rd episode's gonna drop by then. But
Oh wait,
I
are
know
we
there's
done with
2 episodes
Bokudo already?
Hmm?
Are we done with Bokudo already?
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess.
okay. As an ending note, I just want to say that the funny thing to me about this series is that our main protagonist is about as good as introducing herself as Tank is at announcing the current title we're going to be talking about.
that's mean.
She tries to say her name, but she commonly slurs it with a nia, so she doesn't want to introduce it that way, but she commonly slurs her own name.
So what were you saying about Sailor Moon?
I was just wondering if you guys were covering
I guess we can cover it
because
next.
I didn't see it on the list, so I thought this were omitting it because it was a reboot.
Yeah, we can cover it next week. But the only reason I didn't put it on the list was because it was kind of mentioned as no AV when I was looking it up.
I don't know, I think it'd be kind of neat to talk about. Not right now. I'll probably talk about next season when I can watch more episodes. Or next week.
Yeah, so
I'm really far behind. I've only watched like maybe 1 episode or 2 episodes of some shows.
so hopefully we can have Tripoli join us next week. He's got quite a few shows that I bet he wants to talk about. We'll get to the whole Persona 4 Psycho Pass love stage.
I mean, it doesn't look like anyone's watching Persona 4, so I can say something about it really quickly.
Sure.
That's all right.
All right.
for it.
I'm not watching Persona 4 The Golden animation. And here's my explanation why. There's a video game called Persona 4. There's the anime adaptation called Persona 4 The Animation, I think. And then there was it's kind of like a director's cut on Overdrive called Persona 4 The Golden. So that was an expanded version of the original game that has like lots of new scenes and events. It has it has entirely new characters and stuff. And a friend of mine is watching Persona 4 The Golden animation, And he says that what that is that it just skims over the stuff that the first series already covered and just shows you the new stuff. So it introduces like new characters and it goes to like the new events and the new scenes. To me, that's all spoilers. That's why I'm not watching it. I want to play the video game first because I'm a Persona fan, and I think those stories work better as a life sim game. I think whenever Persona has been adapted into animation, it's always been kind of awkward. So I'd rather experience that as a game, and that's why I'm not watching Persona for the golden animation. But I think, I guess people who have seen the first series might want to watch that. People who have played the game might want to watch that. It comes from a totally different studio, so the design looks a little bit different. The animation is reportedly much better than it was in the first series, where it was really stiff. Like I remember that at least. And that's all I have to say about Persona 4, the golden animation.
Yeah, I want to play the games before I watch the show, so I've ignored both regular Persona animation and Persona 4 golden animation, which is weird. I just think it's weird the way they set it up.
Yeah, I'm not really into JRPGs anymore, but I still play Persona because it's a very weird hybrid JRPG with like life sim and like the JRPG stuff is kind of like Pokemon-esque, where you have to sort of collect and evolve these like spirits and demons and deities and whatnot. It is a very weird series.
So far, it looks like the only titles that won't be out right now for our talks is Hana Monogatari, and I haven't seen anything for a title called Mina Rai Diva. So if anyone sees those, tag me, let me know, because I'm kind of interested in seeing what that one title is, the Diva one. But Hana Monogatari seems like it's going to be on August 16th, so you probably won't be able to give that any kind of review until the end. But I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining us in this talk. Thank Owen Evans once again for our nice picture for the summer season. That should be it.